Cues from the heart. This intro music exemplifies how I've been vibrating today. Off the charts. How you doing? I'm doing great. Not going to let this coronavirus freak me out. Stop getting freaked out. Stop panicking already. Do you understand panic is 10 times worse than the problem? Everybody's panicking. Everybody wants to be miserable. I'm convinced of it. Everybody wants to be miserable. They all want to bitch and moan about stuff. They say they want happiness, but they seek misery. They say they want health, but they focus on sickness. They say they want wealth, but they focus on poverty. We don't want what we say we want, clearly. Right? When people say, I want to lose weight, well, then lose weight. Right? I mean, if you really wanted to lose weight, you'd be losing weight. Oh, no, I want to get smart, man. Well, then read a book. You ever try reading a book? Read a book for once. Turn the television off and read a book. It'll make you smarter. People say they want one thing and they do the opposite. They want to have money, but they don't save a penny. They want to eat. They want to be healthy, but they don't want to eat healthy. They want to be clean, but they want to smoke. They want to. You can't. You can't smoke and be clean. You just can't. Coming at you from the dark forest of Mason County on the south sound of the Evergreen State. The most positive, upbeat podcast around. I'll take credit for that. Cues from the heart. This one focusing on all the ways you can and can't catch the coronavirus, because I'm so sick to death of all this hysteria that we're gonna tell you some of the facts, what we know, what we don't know. It's funny, no schools. All these schools are closing in our area. In Washington is home to several of those who have died around the country. The majority of deaths, if not all the deaths, have happened here in Washington state thus far, and people are hysterical here. They're absolutely hysterical. There's a run on toilet paper, I guess. I guess because maybe coronavirus gives you the shits. I don't know. I mean, I'm just being honest with you. I'm sorry that I'm being a little crude here, but it's driving me crazy. I don't know what the coronavirus has to do with a run on toilet paper. It's like, oh, hey, honey, there's a coronavirus. It's like, let's buy 500,000 rolls of toilet paper. Oh, let's go get it. People are nuts. People are losing their minds over this thing. It's funny, the same people who worry about this go 90 miles an hour on their way home, around a curve in the dark, with no seatbelt. People who are afraid of this smoke cigarettes. People who are afraid of this eat like it's going out of style. People who are afraid of this live dangerous lives and make dangerous decisions and take dangerous risks. But they're worried about the coronavirus. They're worried that some stranger might sneeze on them and cause them more damage than what they're doing to their own bodies. It's nonsense. It's total hysteria. Use your head, for God's sakes. You want to be healthy? Stop driving like a maniac. You're not Mario Andretti around a racetrack. You want to be healthy? Stop smoking. Stop overeating. Stop overdrugging yourself. Exercise. Be healthy. God, I'm saying it like it is, and I'm sorry if I hurt anybody's sensibilities or feelings over this, but it's the truth. People are worried about this, but they're not worried about all the poisons and toxins and chemicals and artificial colors and flavors and preservatives they put in their bodies. People are worried about COVID-19. Drink 20 Diet Cokes a day. So where this virus comes from is still something of a mystery. Okay. Experts believe that it jumped from an animal, perhaps, to people in Wuhan, China, where the outbreak began. We don't even know the animal species. They think it may have originated in bats, may have spread to pangolins, and then to people, but it has not yet been determined. Scientists are racing to identify all the other ways that people can and cannot catch this thing. Now, the new virus is officially known as SARS-CoV-2, SARS-CoV-2. It's a member of the coronavirus, a corona family, a group that includes viruses that cause deadly outbreaks of SARS and Middle East Respiratory Syndrome, which was MERS, M-E-R-S, as well as less dangerous viruses that cause the common cold. So, we're still learning about this, obviously. Stephen Morris, a professor of epidemiology at the Columbia University Mailman School of Public Health, said in an email to Popular Science, we're still on the learning curve and there's still much we don't know. This is based on the best data we have as of now, but we may learn more. So here is what we know so far. You're most likely to catch this thing from droplets of mucus or saliva. Okay? You can still get it by touching an infected surface, but the most likely way to get it is from droplets of mucus or saliva, which means don't stand around somebody who's sneezing like a maniac. And don't sneeze like a maniac yourself, because what happens when you cough or sneeze, you spray germ-filled droplets of saliva and spit and mucus into the air. And if you happen to be nearby somebody doing that, who wasn't raised properly, who was taught to sneeze like a donkey, the secretions can land on your face or body, or you could breathe them in. Generally, these projectiles can travel up to 6 feet. That's according to Charles Chu, Associate Director of the UCSF Clinical Microbiology Laboratory. That's University of California, San Francisco. That means you must be in fairly close proximity to a sick person to catch the virus. He says, it is extremely unlikely and has never been documented that you can get infected with the virus if you're in the back of an airplane and a COVID-19 infected patient is in the front of the airplane. But they're not teaching you that in the mainstream nightly news. That's making you freak out. Now, you might pick up the virus from close contact with someone who's sick by shaking hands, but washing your hands often and thoroughly greatly reduces the likelihood of this happening. Which means you don't wash your hands in that half-ass way that everybody does when they're in the restroom, when they go to the movie theater and they don't want to be late for the movie. They wash their hands for like 4 seconds, don't even use soap, that's no good. Then you use the blow dryer thing that's blowing feces and fecal matter all over your hands anyway, so it's useless. You got to wash your hands for many, many, many seconds. It's also possible you can become infected by touching an object that has the virus on it, such as a doorknob, a countertop, things like that. Handle of the bathroom door on an airplane even. People touch their face hundreds of times a day. So it's easy to get the virus on your hands and then rub the virus into your eyes or your nose or your mouth. And this is why one of the reasons why you probably shouldn't wear a face mask if you're not sick or caring for someone with COVID-19. Listen to this important quote. I put this on my Facebook because people need to hear this. David Eisenman, director of the UCLA Center for Public Health and Disaster, says, people don't use the face masks correctly. They touch the outside of it, they take it off wrong, they rub their face below it, they scratch their nose, they lift it off their mouth for a moment to talk or get on the phone, they don't dispose of it correctly. So in all of those ways, they're breaking the barrier, basically, making it ineffective. It's basically like putting a condom on inside out. Okay? It's like putting a condom on inside out. You put it on too tight, you put it on too loose, you don't know what you're doing. Scientists don't know yet how long this novel coronavirus can survive outside the human body. Based on what we know from other coronaviruses, it may persist on surfaces for a few hours or even a few days. Contact with infected surfaces is not thought to be the main way to spread the illness. You're much likelier to get it from people coughing and sneezing on you. This is something that nobody is teaching you in the mainstream media, so we're going to teach you it here on Hughes from the Heart. The virus is not known to be airborne. I repeat, the virus is not known to be airborne. Some pathogens can be spread through the air. That's measles, chickenpox, the bacteria that cause tuberculosis. Those are airborne. This airborne transmission is different from when people launch droplets into the air when they cough or sneeze. That's because those tiny globs of mucus or saliva are heavy and drop out of the air pretty quickly, whereas airborne particles can float for long distances. Remember, we told you about 6 feet for this. Eisenman says it's like the water around the virus has dehydrated away and there's kind of a little bit of a coating around the virus, but otherwise it's mostly just the virus. It's sort of like a gel-like coat that is light enough to stay airborne. Coronaviruses are not generally airborne. He says it's unlikely that this new virus happens to be different. That's Chu saying that. It's more likely that it's not airborne, although it's too early to definitely say that. The virus has been detected in poop, so don't play with poop. Okay? No, really, it's been detected in poop, so don't play with poop. Why would you play with poop anyway, you pervert? I know. People in hospitals handle poop. I'm just trying to add some levity to this, for God's sakes, because people are just freaking out left and right. So even if COVID-19 can be transmitted through contact with feces, this likely won't be the main way that people get sick. Because people even in hospitals who handle human excrement, they have to wear gloves, they have to be careful, they're not handling it, they're not grabbing it with their fingers. It's very unlikely you'll catch COVID-19 from a toilet seat. Other diseases such as Ebola can cause intense vomiting and diarrhea. Ebola can easily be transmitted through these bodily fluids. If somebody with Ebola uses a bathroom, any surface in that bathroom, including the toilet seat, could be potentially a source of infection. For most people, diarrhea is not a symptom of COVID-19. If it turns out that it can be transmitted through poop, then the most likely way you'd catch it from a toilet seat would be if you touched the toilet seat and then didn't wash your hands. Again, don't be a pig. Show that your mama raised you right and that you know how to wash your hands like a good boy or girl. You shouldn't worry about catching COVID-19 from Fluffy. There was a story that lasted in the news for like 5 seconds that went away, so I'm assuming that the media was full of shit. Pardon me. Officials in Hong Kong reported on February 28th that a pet dog belonging to a person with COVID-19 had tested weak positive for the coronavirus. This does not mean the dog was actually infected. The dog has no symptoms, is currently being quarantined to determine whether the positive test might be due to environmental contamination of the dog's mouth and nose. There is no evidence, absolutely none, that pets can be infected by this. And that's attested to by World Health Organization and the Centers for Disease Control. They're both saying it's a bunch of poppycock. It's not true. Now, it is true people with COVID-19 don't need to have severe symptoms to be contagious. In some respects, the new coronavirus is behaving more like influenza than like its close relatives, the SARS virus. Most people who were infected with SARS, according to Chu, became severely ill and were contagious only when they had overt symptoms. By contrast, both influenza and COVID-19 cause few or no symptoms in some of the people they infect. It would not be surprising if COVID-19 can be transmitted by people who are asymptomatic. There are other viral illnesses where you can transmit it before you actually feel sick. And we already have that. We have it with the common cold. We have it with the flu. And this idea that it's killing off elderly people in a rest home, I mean, for God's sakes, these people, it never makes the news when their grandchildren come in there with a sore throat and they get grandpa and grandma sick and they die. It never makes the news when they die of a common cold. It never makes the news when they get sick and die from just common ailments. But this is one of those scary illnesses, and you're letting the media scare you. Don't let the media scare you. Now, this is a lot more... I don't know. It's not political at all. This podcast was not political at all, but this was pretty hard-hitting. Most of my podcasts are about health and wellness with a focus on minimalism, mindfulness, meditation, the law of attraction, prosperity thinking, thoughts become things, and this is on the thread of thoughts become things. If you want to waste your life away worrying, then worry yourself to death. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to worry myself to death. You want to worry yourself to death? Go ahead. Worry about the bills, worry about the mortgage, worry about sickness, worry about death, worry about all this stuff. I love Alan Watts when he said, what are you worried about death for? It means you don't have to pay your bills ever again. It means the alarm clock's never going to go off. It means you don't have to go to a job that you hate. It means you never have to argue with people ever again. It means you never have to get sick. It means you never have to get sad. I mean, people are like so scared to death of death. And yet, I mean, it's the end of all your, you know what I mean? I'm not saying to search for death. I'm not saying to kill yourself. That's not what I'm saying here. What I'm saying is we worry about the damnedest things. And even the worst case scenario, death, isn't as bad as you've been made out to think that it is. The reason we fear death is because of all the religions telling us we're going to go to hell if we masturbate, if we yelled at our kids, we're going to go to hell, if we did this or that, if we looked at someone, if we looked at someone we weren't married to, in kind of a coy way, we're going to go to hell. That's why people fear death. The religions put the fear of death in us. It's not really rational when you think about it to fear death because it's just an extension of life. It's a different form of life. I don't think the caterpillar fears becoming a butterfly. If the caterpillar had the capacity to fear the next evolutionary stage of itself, I don't think it would fear it. It's just a different form of the same life form, right? I mean, the caterpillar doesn't disappear and then a butterfly comes out of nowhere. The butterfly is the caterpillar, right? The only reason you fear death is because religions have put the fear of God in you that if you masturbate, if you swear, if you're not nice to your parents, if you do all this stuff, you're going to go to hell. That's why you're afraid of death, because nobody wants to go to hell. But I love the expression, everyone wants to go to heaven, but nobody wants to die to get there. I'm Spencer Hughes. If you like some common sense, if you like a positive outlook on things, if you're tired of all the doldrums and all the negative thinking and all the negative Nellies out there, if you are sick to death of all the propaganda in the media, please join my podcast. It's $1 a month, for goodness sakes. And whenever people say they can't afford it, it drives me crazy. Because they're the same people that spend $12 on a pack of cigarettes. They're the same ones that spend $7 on a latte. They're the same ones that spend $20 to get into a movie that's 90 minutes long and they hate. So you have the money. Please spend it on something that's actually productive for your life and will actually add value and meaning to your everyday life. Like Hughes from the Heart. Go to patreon.com, patreon.com/Spencer Hughes, and sign up today. Thanks a lot, my friends. Don't let the mass media scare you. They've been doing it for generations. They've been trying to scare you because you know why? They need ratings. They need ratings. And scaring people causes people to go to the mass media. They go to the internet. They go to the radio. They go to the television. They go to the websites. And they click and they click and they click. Okay? And that's why a Girl Scout selling 1,000 cookies in a day doesn't really make national news. It doesn't make a big news story because they figure you'd rather be scared. They feed on your insecurities, on your vulnerabilities, on your paranoia. That's how the media makes its money. I'm Spencer Hughes. This is Hughes from the Heart. Join me at patreon.com/Spencer Hughes. I just gave you 16 minutes of my life absolutely for free. And all I ask in return is that you at the very least, if you have no intention of joining the podcast, share this. You don't want to pay the money for the podcast, that's fine. Maybe some of your friends and family will see value in it that you don't. Click share, whatever your social media source is that you're listening to this on, whether it is Twitter, whether it is Instagram, whether it is Pinterest, whether it's Facebook, whatever it happens to be. Click share. This is on iTunes. This is on Spreaker. This is on Google Podcasts. This is on, I know I missed something. Oh, on Spotify. This is everywhere. So share it. It's a free podcast. You can do what you want with it. I'm Spencer Hughes. This has been Hughes from the Heart, and I thank you very much for listening.